Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are having a look at the KANG TAO Yinglong Smart Submachine Gun mod, which is being made by user CyberPunk. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is the Yinglong Smart Submachine Gun from Cyberpunk 2077, which I find myself surprisingly really liking this weapon. Now I say surprisingly because you guys know me, I don't typically like adding in things to Fallout from other video game franchises because I don't generally think they fit the aesthetic of Fallout. But this gun to me does, as not only is it an actual functioning smart gun, which seems like something the Institute might make, but also the design, both in the modeling and texturing, kind of seem like something the Institute would do as well, and I very much enjoy that. So let's jump on over here and have a look at what we do get with the Yinglong, which in its most basic and standard form will do 23 damage with a 5.56 round, with a firing rate of 220, range of 95, accuracy of 84, for a weight of 8.4. Not too bad there. And as you can see, this thing is just beautifully made. Very nice on the texturing and modeling. It certainly does look the part for the gun in Cyberpunk, though it seems a bit chunkier to me than what is in Cyberpunk, but frankly that just makes it seem like it fits more into Fallout because, I mean, all the guns in this game are pretty darn chunky for whatever reason. And overall, I really like how this thing does look. It is pretty darn good. Now, you'll also notice on the side here we have a lot of modification categories for the weapon, which is a little bit, misleading because a lot of these categories only have one singular thing in them. So there are no actual options like the receiver, magazine, etc. Those only have the one basic thing in there. Now I'm hoping that means that down the road we'll get some more modifications, but for the time being, the majority of the modification categories only have one option to go with. But even with that being said, there are enough in here to, change up the sights on it quite nicely and even add in a little bit more damage. Though to be honest, even at this base level of damage, this thing's pretty darn powerful because of, well, its firing rate. And again, the fact that this is a functioning smart gun. Once you have your target locked, you can point the gun in any direction and it will shoot it. Which is awesome, especially for someone like me who's an awful shot. With this, I don't gotta worry. You just pull the trigger and things die. It's glorious. Now, as for how you get your hands on one of these lovely things, it's pretty darn easy. Now, by default, with just getting the basic download for this mod, you'll be able to build it at any chemistry station where we have the Yinglong category. And for just a couple pieces of aluminum, plastic, screws, and steel, you can make one of these things, making it available pretty much from the get-go in the game. I kinda wish there was maybe some perk requirements in here or some more things. Like, I'm surprised there's not stuff like fiber optics or circuitry, etc. that are needed for it. But still, nonetheless, you make it and you're good to go. And you can get that pretty much from the start. Now, there is also an optional file you can download that will allow you to add it to the leveled list for the world, and it will be spawning in the world starting at level 1 from that. So either way you go, it's going to be pretty darn easy to get your hands on. Now, as for the modifications, let's jump on in here, and as mentioned, a lot of these categories only have one thing, like the receiver category, just the base receiver. Same with the barrel category, it's all we got there. Same with the magazine category. Now, thankfully, in the sights category, we've got a couple of options in here, which is pretty good and very nice to see, so that's always wonderful. And then in the muzzle category, we actually do have two additional options besides the basic, nothing there, as we do have two different suppressors we can put on this gun, which is pretty nice. They'll do the same purpose, but, some nice aesthetic options there between those two. Now, then we also have the stock category here, where by default it's, no stock, but we can actually add a stock into here to help with the recoil reduction and hipfire accuracy, which, honestly, hipfire accuracy doesn't matter so much when you have a smart gun. Now, that being said, we can turn off the smart capabilities in here. Now, by default, the smart BLT is what it has, but you can go with a penetrator instead, which will up the damage by a couple of points and will take away its smart functionality. So, you know, kind of a trade-off there. If you're a good shot, go with that. If you're a crap shot like me, stick with the smart. And then finally, we do have the ability to make this thing either fully auto or semi-automatic, depending on which you like. Though, again, with the smart capabilities, I prefer the full. Though if you go with the penetrator, the semi might not be too bad. Now, there is also the capabilities in this to switch between some of these modifications if you do an optional download grabbing the Weapon Framework Lite mod. That'll then give you in, I think it's a contextual wheel that pops up and you can switch out from some of these mods on the fly. I just went with the basic download though, rather than going with that optional file, but that is an option you do have if you want to switch between things like the smart or penetrator mode, etc. Now let me go grab my modified versions that I've got over here and we'll take some shots. So pull out our base standard version, and even though it is a smart gun by default, you don't have to have a target locked on, so we can of course shoot at these targets without issue. And there we go, not too shabby. Now, it is a fast-firing gun, but despite that, it has pretty controllable recoil on it. I mean, we emptied that entire magazine there of 35 rounds, and we only went from there to there. So very easy to keep this thing on target, but again, with the smart capabilities of it, that's not so much of a problem. Now, the recon version that I made here is a silenced one and using one of the other sights on it, which is just freaking ginormous, but I kind of like it. And take a look at that thing real quick. Good for use with the smart weaponry, because as you can see, it doesn't actually have a reticule, and this is, in fact, if I actually go back in here, yeah, the Smart Link Red Digital HUD. So it is just basically a giant HUD that relies entirely on the smart mechanic, but hey, there you go. You got that cool screen, and of course, the silent shots. There we go, wonderful. And the final one that I did modify is this tactical version here, where I did go with the penetrator one and a more traditional Barska electro sight on there. So let's just take a look at that. And there we go. Now, I do gotta admit, one oddity with this gun that I kinda don't like is the fact that it's always turned on its side. I wish it was upright when you're normally running around and only turned onto the side when you went to aim down sight, but I think that's more of a limitation probably of the game itself than the mod maker, because, you know, the aiming down sight just basically zooms in and moves the gun up. I don't know if the game has that ability for it to rotate in an animation, so I think that's probably why it's like that, but it kind of saddens me. I don't like it always being like this. But let us grab, actually switch back over to a smart one, because my shooting, and then grab ourselves a wonderful Death Claw, which, oh god, run away, run away, run away, there we go, haha! And all we gotta do to lock on is just like any recon sight, aim down sight on him, and boom, he's locked, and now we fire. And you can see my bullets are traveling towards him. Though it does lose the lock after a little while if they're too far away. It also seems to lose the lock once you reload the gun, too. Once it reloads to another magazine. But yeah, you can just keep on firing. And so long as you got the lock, you are fine to kill a thing. There we go. And even though I'm not pointing at it, all my bullets are going downrange at this Deathclaw. And yeah, there we go. It lost it again once we were reloading. But ooh, he's almost down. Ooh, that magazine actually did really good on him. And die, Deathclaw. I do love it. It's just so fun to be able to point anywhere and shoot at your enemy once you've got it locked on. It is pretty darn neat. And again, for someone like me who is awful at shooting, it's pretty cool. And, you know, again, I think it just does fit with the world as thinking it... Wait, what's a good way to say this? I suddenly lost my train of thought. Thinking of it, there we go, as like an early Institute prototype weapon that they abandoned for energy weapons, you know, makes it feel like it fits in this world, and with the design and just that fun, smart shooting capability, it's pretty darn cool. So if you'd like to take a look at this mod for yourself, which I'd certainly recommend you go and do, you can have a look at the link in the description as per usual. But that is going to be it for this one today, my friends. Hopefully you have enjoyed and you come back for whatever mod we look at next. But until that time, thank you for watching as always. Well, have a good one.